My name is Jean, and this is my game Adapt or Die. First, let's take a look at the components. Here we have our migration markers, which I will give to their prospective players right now. Those will be your markers for moving around the table. Then we have a deck of 32 cards, 16 board tiles, a bag of population tokens, 32 climate tokens, and a bag of radiation tokens. To start off, let's make the board. You can do it in any order you want. Just make sure that you put down the tiles face down and do not look at them. Once you have the whole board down, you can flip them over, and because we're playing on Tabletop Simulator, we'll want to lock them into place so that they don't move around while we're playing. Next, we are going to make the climate. Start from the corner that is closest to the reactor tile, and then go in a spiraling pattern inward. The blue ones are cold climates, and the orange ones are hot climates. Once you have all of these down, then you'll want to put down the radiation token, the first of which will go on to the reactor. We'll talk about radiation a little more in detail later. Next, each player gets 4 population tokens to start out. You can get no more than 10 of these, and if you fall down to 0, then you die. And that is the end of the game for you. Before you draw any cards, we're going to have to figure out who goes first. That is determined by either who has been to a place with a lot of animals the most recently, so like a zoo or an animal shelter, or by rolling this dice here, and whoever gets the highest roll will go first. For the sake of simplicity, let's say that purple goes. And purple will choose where to put themselves. Purple can only choose to be adjacent orthogonally, so up, right, left, or down, from the reactor. So purple is going to choose to go here. And then black, and then yellow. If the reactor were in a corner, then you could go diagonally as well. But it's not in a quarter, so we'll stick with this. So this is the point where we would draw our cards. On the first turn, you'll draw 5, but in every subsequent turn, you can only have a maximum of 3. Starting our first turn, we're going to take a look at our cards. These cards have their specific effects written on them, but there's also a key on the rules. You can only have 1 card that has to do with your biome, and 1 card that has to do with your climate active at any time. And you can only have 3 cards active total at any time. So let's start with sweat glands and threat display. Now that's just starting with our starting creature. This is when your turn really begins. When you have your turn, you can do a couple of different things. You can mutate your creature by activating another mutation. You can move your creature anywhere adjacent to where it is now, orthogonally, not diagonally. Or you can discard a card. When you move or discard, it will cost you 1 population token. You can move as many times as you want in a turn, and you can discard as many times as you want in a turn, but I would suggest you do that carefully, because you only have a limited amount of population, and you can go through them fast. When you resolve your turn, you have to look at the cards that you have active, the mutations that you have active, and count up your gains and losses. If you have the card that matches your biome, you will gain 2 population. If you do not, you will lose 2 population. If you have the card that matches your climate, you will gain 1 population. If you do not, you will lose 1. So I only have a card that matches my climate. I do not have one that matches my biome, so if we add those up together, then I will lose 1 climate. 1 population, rather. Once everybody has gone and the turn is over, the round is over, then we will have to roll this die, and if it rolls onto a 4, then the radiation will spread, with the person with the lowest amount of population choosing where it goes. This is a time for strategizing, because if you put that radiation onto one of your opponents, this is where the fun starts. When you move into an irradiated square, start your turn on a radiated square, or have radiation put onto your square, you will have to be forced to be mutated. So let's say that this is our discard. When you go there, when you have the radiation on your square, you're going to have to replace one of your active mutations with a random one from the discard. Unfortunately, that's junk DNA. It does nothing. This goes into the discard, and I lose a population. Radiation is harmful, after all. The radiation will continue to spread as the rounds go on. And if there are still, multiple people surviving when the radiation spreads to every single tile on the board, instead of losing 1 population when you start your turn on, or have radiation spread to you, you will instead lose 2. This is also the case if there is nothing in the discard. So for example, if there were nothing in the discard and I happened to move here, then I would not change any of my mutations. I would simply lose 2 population. Unfortunately, once you hit 0, it's game over. There's also the mechanic of crowding. When you end your turn on the same tile as somebody else, both of you will lose 1 population. It gets crowded. But if you have a card that changes this outcome, say mutualism, something different will happen. So for mutualism, you'll both gain 1. With parasitism, one of you will gain 1 and the other will lose 1. And if you have the threat display card, you can move somebody out of your way. And you will continue playing until there's just one of you left. And that is how you play Adapt or Die. Thank you.